So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear participants to this session. I know that you are coming from very different countries in the world, actually, not only the Caribbean region. We are today to discuss a series, a session, number 8, actually, part of a series that IICA co-organized with COLEAD. And today is on the successes from Caribbean women-led businesses, SMEs, and other form of businesses in the agri-food sector. So as you all know, we have interpretation. You can choose the globe last row in your screen. We have interpretation English, French, Spanish, and today we have a new addition, which is Portuguese, in view of the increasing demand we have. Please, while the presenters will make their presentations, make sure that you put insights, comments, questions, whatever you find useful in the chat function, and myself and my colleagues will look very carefully at it. So without major delay, we have a very exciting panel today. So we are going to look at, you know, that women, we always, IICA and ourselves, try to have as many women entrepreneurs as possible in all the sessions, in any topic we deal with. We have done nutrition, trade, processing, circular economy, etc. And as much as we can, we bring women entrepreneurs, including young women entrepreneurs as well. But today we thought we will dedicate particularly to women, because we still have to recognize that despite they are a key actor in the value chain at all levels of the value chain, from processing to marketing, sometimes they still face barriers in accessing, of course, productive resources, inputs, tools, equipment, technologies, training, finance, etc. We want them to, of course, be more in market to attract other women and young women, and of course, men as well, into the agriculture and agri-food sector. We want that they are in formal markets, and we also want that as much as possible, the export be in the region, in the Caribbean, be outside the Caribbean. And for that, of course, IICA and ourselves, we also bring technical skills, being food safety, conservation, packaging, certification, and others, extension services, and skills development. We have today a colleague from IICA, a gender group, that will go into more detail into that. So what we expect today is to hear what is the core part of these sessions that we like a lot, which is the SMEs, the business part, and hearing all these business women, how they have made it and be, you know, in markets, in a profitable value chain, and now they expand. And then we will have a second session where we bring a bit insights from the supportive, the ecosystem supporting the entrepreneurs. And we will have UN Women, CANROP, my colleagues from IICA, as I was mentioning, and then we open for the debate. So if it's okay for you, let's listen to the doers, the ones really in the field making the business happen. I will start by Jeanette Marcelle, who is the founder and CEO of Handmade by Jeanette company, based in Trinidad and Tobago. She's known as a chef Marcelle. She has been in the culinary hospitality industry for over 2 decades. She launched her business to create not only employment for herself, of course, but also to really contribute to one of the problems in the region and elsewhere, which is reducing food waste in the community. Then she will explain to us what kind of range of products she's producing and selling, and also how she does operate, you know, according to a zero waste policy. And her kind of motto is, "You are what you eat," and is so true, though. So please, Jeanette, go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. As you heard before, I am Chef Marcelle from Trinidad. So my company started basically as a creative expression when I was left jobless due to the global pandemic. It took me a minute to really figure out, okay, so what is going to be my next move? What am I going to do? I'm jobless. And in thinking of myself, without giving thought to anyone else, one of my friends called me and he was like, "Hey, I have 100 pounds of pepper here. What could I do to preserve this pepper?" And I'm like, "I don't know why you're calling me." He said, "But you're a chef." So I asked him, I said, "Here, what? Give me a minute to figure out, to experiment what I can do with it. If you're willing to give me some credit, it would be really good. Because this is the peppers he usually used to sell to the doubles vendors in his area. And as you knew, due to global pandemic, Trinidad was not an exception. Every single thing was locked down. So that way forward was me basically dusting off my recipe book and creating employment for myself, as well as some individuals within my community. I mean, everybody thought, look, this girl finally gone mad. Why would you want to start a business now? Someone asked me, one of my friends said, this is no time to be selling pepper sauce. I was doing a Zoom focus group to kind of test the sauce on the market. So what I did is I put these little packages together and I sent it out to people how I usually would have done in a focus group. And I sent it out, and then we were on Zoom going through the product and discussing it. Does it have too much pepper? Should I put more salt? Should I put more shondel? All these different things. So my reply to this individual was, you know what? Yes, this is a pandemic, but go and look at the History Channel, because this pandemic is going to last at least 3 years. And then after that 3 years, a recession would follow. However, people still have to eat. And I think it's our job to create import substitutes that are healthy and wholesome within our country to help to reduce the import bill. Next slide, please. So these are some of the products that was created. The idea was to create products that could be sold at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods by using things that are locally grown. So for example, the coconut and chocolate tamarind. As you know, Trinidad is one of the countries that has a world famous chocolate. So why not use our own chocolate? So the theme was, it was about reducing food waste, but as well as that same bread, creating things that you could use. Next slide, please. So my target audience, my target customers, right now the products is sold in 15 different locations in Trinidad, and they could be considered my bulk buyers because they buy in bulk from me and then they resell to their customers. Then I also sell at the various pop-up markets, as well as I sell directly to customers who would come to my location in East Trinidad And then I'm also on an e-commerce website. The e-commerce website is based in Jamaica, but they sell to persons in Canada and in Florida. So right now, my main focus is exporting, is to increase my exports. I do export, but it's more about increasing that export. So what I need right now is things like, because to me, exporting was it will also increase my market share and will also increase my revenue. Next slide, please. So the problem was figuring out a way to reduce the food waste, as well as to add my voice to the conversation of what are we going to do to reduce our food import bill, at least by 2025. So it was the idea to create products, global products that are made locally in Trinidad by using ingredients that are sourced. And I can't emphasize that enough about the ingredients, because like the button mushroom, the tamarind, the scorpion pepper, the honey, all these things that are right grown and sourced right in Trinidad. And it was all about using those products, whereas creating substitutes for other persons to use, and not just in Trinidad, but globally as well. Next slide, please. So the solution, so if the problem was the high import food bill, then the solution should be to use more of what we grow locally. So the idea was to, with as minimal impact as possible on the environment, because what we, as was mentioned, I try to have minimal food waste. So for example, the tamarind seeds are given back to the crafters, and they use the tamarind seeds to make earrings and different things like that. The pepper seeds are given back to the farmers so that they could replant it and they don't have to go looking for peppers. So the whole process that I use, it's a long process, but it's an easy process in the long run. So I hydrate the items, then take out the seeds and give it back to them. So it's all about being able to reduce and reuse. Next slide, please. So it's hard for a woman to earn equal pay, equal opportunity. And add being an entrepreneur to that, it magnifies that problem. However, I cannot and I will not let these roadblocks stand in my way. I literally had to bulldoze my way to get to the success that I have now. For example, One day I went to a distributor, a male distributor, to ask him to get one of his customers to take at least some of my granola. And I saw that he's looking at me, he's looking at my hair. At that point in time, I had shoulder length blonde dreadlocks. And he's looking at my hair and I'm ignoring him looking at my hair. I'm like, okay. And then when he couldn't take it no more, he said, I don't know why pretty girls like you like to put these kind of things in your hair. So I said to him, well, my hair is really none of your concern, but what you could do is get your customer to take some product. That way I would have money and I could put my hair in a more respectable style that would be pleasing to you. So my thing to you, dear female entrepreneur, yes, you will have to work harder. Yes, you will be judged on your hairstyle and not on the fact that you can build a table. But these are not things that you take and you let stand in the way. These are things that you use as stepping stone to get to your triumph. Next slide, please. So clean granola, unique sources, and spice rub using 75% locally sourced, locally grown ingredients. As a chef, I believe it's my responsibility to make products that are wholesome for your body as well as on the environment. Over-processed, mass-produced, chemical loaded with chemical, high in sugar, those products are becoming outdated. Persons now want products that there's a story behind it. They want to know where that product came from. They want to know from the ingredient to the final packaged product when they have it in their hand. No longer people just buying for buying's sake. Now people are buying with their minds and they're buying socially. Next slide, please. So as you can see from this slide, the bulk of our revenue comes from wholesalers, from selling wholesale, but we also make a huge amount from selling to customers directly. And what we have noticed is that there's a lot of international foodies now that are into exotic ingredients, exotic products, as they refer to it. But we have been able to use that to our advantage. Because, like, for example, my chocolate steak salt, it was when I bought it, I gave it to someone, they were going back, they came to Trinidad and they were going back to France. And at first they were skeptical because we all know that chocolate is for desserts, not for cooking, not for savory, chocolate on my steak, chocolate. So it was really about being as innovative as possible with simple ingredients. Because mushroom, we grow button mushroom here locally. And who would have thought that if you could take that and add our chocolate and add some rosemary and you have a totally different product. Next slide, please. So far, since we have launched, we launched in an extremely difficult time. I mean, it was, as my friend told me, I was crazy to try to launch a business within a pandemic. But however, I have been able to use that pandemic to propel myself in terms of where I want to go next, where the business is going. And there's some, and it was helpful to be part of groups, different groups, because as a woman, you're not going to get it on your own. That's one thing I can tell you from experience. It's not going to happen by yourself, but joining a community, being part of different communities, it's also helpful. So whereas I have been able to reinvest money back into the business, because everything that I made, I reinvested back into the business to kind of improve the business. So when I started, it was a simple plastic pouch, a simple pouch with a simple label on it. And as time go by, I was able to improve it and upgrade it for a more eco-friendly pouch with proper labeling, with all the necessary facts that you need on your packaging, your food and nutrition information, where the product is, where it comes from, and all these different things. So as much as the business is not making a profit right now, but eventually I would be able to see where the profit will come from. Next slide, please. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I have 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff, of course, all female. And this individual was really instrumental in getting the business and where it is today, because it is one thing, women, sometimes we don't have each other's back, but when we do have each other's back, man, we are a force to reckon with. And having a BA in human resource management kind of helped me to understand the importance of making sure that my internal customers are happy and fulfilled with what they do. And with that being said, I am so very thankful for your time. And if you have any questions at all, I'll be happy to discuss it after.
Thank you so much, Chef Marcelle. Very, very interesting, not only for the things you market, but the contribution, of course, to reducing waste and making it into productive resources. While the moderation from the question answer service part will be done with by Dr. Maxine, I would have already like to ask you for later, you know, the part related to the e-commerce, because it's something we wanted, Alistair and IICA and COLEAD, to do a session on that. And we always find that is really a challenge in the region. So perhaps we can come to this. And then I have two small things to say. You will see, thank you very much to all for being here today, that really is from all parts of the world and many of our African colleagues as well. I'm very glad that they come from different parts, and we have realized that there is much more trade and exchanges, business exchanges between the Caribbean and Africa. That's really what we realized before. So this is really remarkable. And for Chef Marcelle, I also, like a few others, and I would like to encourage you, the entrepreneurs that come to these sessions are sometimes from the networks of IICA, sometimes from COLEAD, but it's not something that we push. And sometimes it's just people who attend the sessions, like Chef Marcelle. I believe you attended former sessions like this one, and you send us an interest to present. So this is also a call to some of you that might have in the audience interesting cases to present, that you are more welcome to contact us and to come and share it. So without major delay, we go now to St. Kitts and Nevis, with Anastasha ELLIOT, who is the co-founder and CEO of Sugar Town Organics. She's really a businesswoman, natural health advocate, and champion for food and nutrition security. She promotes really entrepreneurship, women's empowerment, agriculture innovation, and really a green as well, a green approach and green living. She's a member of many, she will tell us, women groups, innovation groups, processor groups, and so on, that support women and herself. So without major delay as well, please, the floor is yours and you have 10 minutes. Thank you very much. And keep an eye, Chef Marcelle, as well on the chat for you.
Good morning, everyone. My mom just asked who you're talking about. Okay, let me try to share my screen. Share screen.
If not, Axel can also help if you need any from our side, Anastasha.
Okay.
Well, that's a nice sound, actually. For those who are not awake, please do.
Okay, maybe Axel will have to share it because it's showing right on my end still.
We know, you know, okay. In the best meetings, there is always something technical. I mean, no problem. Here it is. Thank you very much, Axel, as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, good morning, ladies, gentlemen. I know Alistair is in here. My name is Anastasha ELLIOT. I am co-founder of Sugar Town Organics. We are based in St. Kitts, and we are all about taking local agriculture produce and creating healthy products that you can use every day for the entire family. All right, we are a family-operated agriculture-based social enterprise, and we are innovating along the agriculture value chain. I do love to experiment with food. So does my mom. She comes up with these amazing things. Right now, she's making butter and cheese, right? She's laughing. So we try to do that and offer our creations to the general public. We do know that there are a lot of, we have rising incidences of NCDs, particularly cancer. And cancer, we know, is very much based on our diet and our lifestyle. And so we try to create this impact innovation that can have a positive impact on what we're seeing happening in our communities by creating the products that we do. Next slide, please. I'm the CEO, co-founder. I am the lead product formulator with over 2 decades of experience in formulating. I hold degrees in culinary arts, office administration. I've studied hair and skincare formulation because I wanted to create products that were healthy and that was safe for people to use. But also I wanted to learn what was modern, because I knew the traditional, I knew what we did back in the days, but I didn't know too much about the modern. And so I purposely went and learned that so that I could mesh it to create something that was quite unique and quite intrinsic to the space that I'm formulating from. I'm very passionate about food security. I'm very passionate about teaching the next generation. In that respect, we created a summer camp for children where we teach formulation, we teach creative entrepreneurship, so that we can have that impact going not just with my business, but something that can spin out to the wider community and impact generations to come. For my last camp, we saw 2 businesses being formed, which I'm quite proud of, following up on these students and to ensure that they're getting the assistance that they need. And then we do have a mentorship arm where we pair talented students with persons in the community who can teach, who can mentor them, and help them to grow into the fields that they love. Next slide, please. The products that we offer at Sugartown Organics, we have 4 main brands. We started in 2015 with Yaffine. Yaffine had basically encompassed everything at that time. So we did the soaps, we did the hair care, we did the skincare, we did the bath and body products, all under Yaffine. But in doing Yaffine, I realized that I had a lot of excess foods left over, which amounted to waste, because my family, although there's like 8 of us, we still couldn't use up the excess. And so I had this idea to create a food product line using up that excess. And so in so doing, we created a sort of ecosystem where we don't really have any waste left over, much like Jeanette. We use everything, right? And when I say everything, roots, seeds, everybody gets to use. We do store seeds for future use. We do give back to community groups that we are part of. We are part of several groups, agro-processing groups, business groups, mentorship groups, in addition to the classes that we do. Because we want to ensure that we work in tandem with nature, because we are depending on nature to supply us with healthy food. So we have to ensure that nature can do her part as well by giving back to ensure that we can get the healthy food. And so out of those 2 brands, then I realized that based on customer feedback and how customers were interacting with the products, I needed to segment Yaffine a bit. And so we did that by creating MARCELLE, which became our luxury line where we offer skincare products. And then we further segmented into bath and body products and men's products. And then, of course, can't forget the children. So we also offer a baby line called Baba's Lullaby, which is a tribute to my elder brother. We call him Baba because he's the eldest boy, responsible for everything. Right? As the male head of the household. And so those are the products that we really do offer. In this picture below here, you can see some of our bath and body products right there. Next slide, please. All right, so market, although we're based in St. Kitts and Nevis, it's a very small population. It's about 50,000 people. And so it's a really limited space in terms of what we can do. And so from the very beginning, my goal was to expand beyond the waters of St. Kitts and Nevis, even though we're based here. And so today we do export around the Caribbean, into the USA, into the EU and UK, Taiwan, and pretty soon Dubai as well. And these are some of the reasons why we export, because we want to scale our impact, create jobs, help to contribute to our economy, and in so doing, create wealth. Next slide, please. Okay, so our innovations, as I said before, I really do like to experiment with food and create things that people love, and versions of what they love that they may not have thought about. So we know everybody loves tomato ketchup, right? But St. Kitts is quite known for mangoes. We have mangoes everywhere. I mean, we literally have a mango walk leading up into one of the rainforests. And so I wanted to create different things that could spark the imagination when you see them and spark conversation and draw people in. And so the mango ketchup was really one of those very first things that we created. And it's something that has actually become more popular than a tomato ketchup that we also sell here. And quite proud of that one, actually. We also built in a recycling arm into our business because we wanted to have environmental impact, not just on our giving back to the earth, but on the waste that we generated. And so we, in-house with our customers, they can return packaging, which means that we do have that supply of bottles coming back in. So when there's shortages outside, we know that we can depend on a customer base for bottles sometimes. And then the plastics, we partner with a recycling plant here to the Taiwanese, where they recycle the plastic. So we ensure that we have that covered. All right, next slide, please. Opportunities and challenges. As a woman, I would say here in the Caribbean, we are looked at as, because we're women, sometimes we shouldn't work hard. We should find a rich husband and get married. I've actually been told that. You know, why do you want to work so hard? Just find a rich husband and get married. You have mentors who are male who would approach you sexually, and they're supposed to be mentoring you in business. You will have people who will look at your hair and your skin color and, you know, like, why don't you straighten your hair? Why you want to keep your hair natural like that? You will look so much prettier with straight hair. I've had all those happen to me, to be honest. And I don't let it bother me in the sense that I look at it as that is what their belief is, what their thinking is. It has very little to do with me. And so I leave that where it is. I just know that that person is not going to be the person that I go to for help because I'm not dealing with that, right? And so I set those sort of boundaries. We have lack of access to finance. As women in business, we're seen as high risk, right? Especially if you have children. They think that you're too high risk, even though stats show that we are more likely to pay back a loan than a man, right? We'll try harder. They will still prefer to lend a man the money than to lend a female. It's just what it is. And so there are all these barriers that we have to face as women, particularly doing business in the Caribbean. And then we have to be quite resourceful and creative in how we overcome those barriers. For me, I found building a network that crosses borders has helped a lot, right? Having women who are in spaces that I can't be in, who can help me to open doors that I can't open on my own. Sometimes even men as well, right? Lobbying my government, being in groups that have a voice in my country where I can ask for certain things, not just for me, but for other businesses. I found doing stuff like that has helped me quite a lot in overcoming some of the challenges that I've had. I'm building a brand that was seen as a national brand that people of my country saw and they own, and it's cited as something that was theirs, and so would champion that brand and so help me fight battles that I can't fight on my own. I found that helped me as well. In agriculture, there are a lot of opportunities. I would say the limitation of what we can do is our own imagination and our willingness to work. We can do so much, we can create so much in the agriculture here, from reducing food wastage. We waste so much fruits and vegetables in the region. I see farmers throw away so much, right? Because they can't get it sold and they don't think that there's anything else they can do with it. Creating healthy foods for children in schools, things like that we can do that can create opportunities, job opportunities, and create wealth for our people. Next slide. I do love these two quotes. I put them in here. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And this is what I tell everyone who I come across who asks me, like, how do I get started? I have this business idea and I want to get started. I always tell them just to start where you're at. Start from right where you're at. Don't try to wait until everything is in place. It's not going to happen. Like, the world is not that perfect, right? So start where you are and you build from there and you keep going step by step by step by step. And you cross the battles as you need to cross them. Don't fight them before you get there. That's going to hold you back, right? And then I have this another quote from Alexander Aronowitz. Creative products are a form of innovation and ideas expressed by artists. I believe that we are all artists, right, in our own space. We all create things. We all express ideas and thoughts and desires. And the way how we express those thoughts and ideas, I think are creative in and of themselves, especially as a people here in the Caribbean region. I mean, we're colorful and we're beautiful and we have amazing and warm personalities. Next slide. that is my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. We are, as I said, we're based in St. Kitts. Our website, sugartownnaturals.com. I do have a storefront in the Pelican Mall, so you come off the cruise ship, you're gonna find me. You come to Bastia, I'm pretty easy to find. Just ask for Miss Yafreen and they'll tell you where to find me, basically. That's what they call me now. But thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, do feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Anastasha, and all of you for keeping the time first and for the very, very interesting and passionate business stories, not only about business development, but also contributing to the community and society at large by food waste reduction, by reinvesting, you know, into the community, onto giving others, women and men, the opportunity as well to stay and be attracted by agriculture. As you said rightly, agriculture has a lot of opportunities that sometimes are not understood. And I'm glad that you also focus on the opportunities and some of the challenges that we share even here in Europe. You know, you just have to ignore them. I would like for the latest session moderated by Dr. Maxine, some of you feedback as well on the branding and labeling. I mean, it's really amazing. It's very, very nicely done. And it's very often one constraint that entrepreneurs have. So it would be great that you tell us how difficult it has been there. So without major delay, we have now Shondel Abby Alexander. I think she's known more as Abby, from Abby Exotics Blends in St. Lucia. She has established her business in 2018. She offers a wide range of vegetable chips made from, she will tell us, plantain, banana, sweet potato, etc., and as well as a number of beverages. Since its creation, it has flourished into one of the best agro-processing companies that also contributes to the local economy and to the marketing of St. Lucia product brands, which is so important, you know, to work when you are a small island in the branding and the uniqueness of the products. She has received many prizes, many awards, Gold SMA, St. Lucia Manufacturers Association, Quality Awards for Leadership, Product and Customer Service Quality and Implementations of Standards and Best Practices, and St. Lucia Business Award in 2019. So first of all, congratulations. And then thank you very much for being with us and taking the time to share your experience. Please, Shondel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Like I was introduced, my name is Shondel Abiola Alexander, and I am from St. Lucia. I am the founder of Abby's Exotic Blends. We practically started this business in 2009. Back then, I didn't know it was going to become a business. And somewhere in 2012, I was forced. It's a quite nice little story, but too much to tell in 10 minutes. I became a single parent, and that is when I decided to go into business. So Abby's Exotic Blends is a agro-processing company, operates in St. Lucia. We have a wide variety of vegetable chips. There are 8 of them. So we have banana, breadfruit, cassava, dasheen, macamboo, ripe plantain, green plantain, and sweet potato. Some of these products are seasonal. Our first award was won in 2018, all gold awards. My second, well, that was the 4th award, was the St. Lucia Business Awards, where we won Small Business of the Year. And then 2020, we progressed to bigger awards there. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, we also export. We exported to Guadeloupe. There was a hurricane there last year, so that is kind of on hold at the moment. Next slide. Well, this is our small processing plant. This is where we operate. Next slide. Our vision is to be the industry-leading provider of palate-stimulating yet nourishing vegetable chips, alcohol, and non-alcohol beverages in St. Lucia and regionally, of course, international as well. Our goals and objective is to ensure that each product remains unique at premium quality by way of ingredients used and produced in St. Lucia. We meet all industry quality standards and work closely with government bodies such as the Bureau of Standards, Manufacturers Association, the Chamber of Commerce, and so on. We also strive to produce excellent quality products. We sell wholesale and retail. Next slide, please. Okay, we aim to profit. Okay, we can send those slides out because time is of the essence here. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so we spoke about these already. These are some of the awards that we have won. We have done several trade shows. This is one of the trade shows that we did. This is the St. Lucia, Taiwan trade show. We have done a UK trade show. We have done one in Barbados. So we've been doing a lot of trade shows to get our products out there. Our main market in St. Lucia is massy stores, MNCs, and barbershops. We do the cruise ships, tour, everybody who does the tour adventures, we sell to them, they give to the tourist. And okay, some of the things I didn't have them here on the slide. One of our main challenges was packaging. We are HACCP compliant, but we are not HACCP certified. And this is what we're looking to work on. In order to ship throughout the Caribbean, we would like to become mechanized because everything we do currently is by hand. We have absolutely no machines whatsoever. Abby's Exotic Blends has adopted a child. We've been sending a child to school for the past 5 years so that we can give back to the community. We're currently looking to gain a space on the stage in the Caribbean to win an award in the Caribbean or even international. I am also looking forward to assisting single mothers because that's how I started my business. I became a single parent and that's how I started. Women who would probably be in an abusive relationship and not know how to get out of it or believe that they have to remain in that setting because a man is the person who is providing finance. You can get out of that and assist yourself. You need to be consistent, don't waste time, and don't waste money. People are important. My staff are very, very important to me and my customers. So to anyone out there who's listening, be consistent. You don't need anybody to tell you you can do it. As long as you make up your mind to do it, you can do it on your own. I think this presentation will be shared out to you. Feel free to ask any questions. You could reach us at www.abbysfoods.com, or of course our email address is on there and our telephone contact as well. And like I said, the slides would be shared to you. Short space of time to tell the whole story. So feel free to reach out to me, anyone who is interested in hearing my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shondel. I know it's always very difficult to summarize so much experience and success in a very short time. We will have more time for questions. Look, you have already some in the chat. And of course, we will share all the documents, including the recording as well of this session and the presentations. So we go now to the last company, SMEs in this first session, and we go now to the Dominican Republic. I will introduce in English also Noelia Ruiz will speak in Spanish. She's the founder and CEO of Empresas Noelia Ruiz in the Dominican Republic. It's a company that produces and markets honey products with a brand of Noelia. It was founded in 2014 and also dedicated to the conservation of the environment, as well as, of course, the production, collection, and marketing of quality, really high quality honey. She will tell us, you know, a bit of her experience, as well as not only the growth and in a very sustainable way, which you would have seen is a kind of the feature of all the enterprises that come in, be social, environmental, and so on, or many at the same time, but also the expansions, and as a woman, if she had any particular as well constraint or challenge to underline. Noelia, if the floor is yours. Muchas gracias.
Thank you all very much for your invitation. From this little corner of the world, greeting to you all. It's a great pleasure to meet to you all. My name is Noelia Ruiz. I belong to the province of Montecristi in the border area of the Dominican Republic, and my project is in the honey production. In my case, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. We can see the slides and we can hear you perfectly well, so please go on, Ms. Noelia. Noelia, if you could please switch your microphone on so that we can all hear you. Okay, now we can hear you. Thank you very much. Well, we started out this project 6 years ago. I lived in a part of the countryside of my of the Dominican Republic in which the general atmosphere was like, as a child, I felt so good. I really wanted to stay there. I went to the city to study industrial engineering, but then I went back to the countryside, and then I saw the bees, and I thought that I wanted to be a beekeeper. It was really something I was too emotional about. It was like a vocational decision, very strange, very quick. I wasn't aware of the activity, of the details of beekeeping activity, and because of the old tradition had disappeared throughout the time. So I started really by researching, and then I started getting to know other people that were also working with bees, and in other countries I started to learn what is the process of production honey, how to protect the environment thanks to our activity. And thanks to this relationship with other producers and also some support from the government institutions, I started to collect all the necessary knowledge and experience for the company to grow and also to become a formal activity, because becoming formal is extremely important for a good growth and development of the company. So that was a way to get all the beekeepers in the area to get together. We would attend training all together, and that's how we started to develop our activity. I also had very important contacts with some Italian companies that started to bring we imported machinery from Italy. So we started to modernize our very basic production system so that we could really have an easier access to market, have access to certifications from the government institutions, because without, if we didn't have inox steel material, we could not get these certifications from the government. So we needed the machinery imported from Italy in order to get the government certificates and then have access to market. So it was a step-by-step process. It was difficult because we needed to add some investment. We were a small, very family business without much resources, and we have been growing little by little. And despite the fact that we had a lot of obstacles and hurdles throughout the way, we had some institutions from Japan, from IICA, from other support to small and medium-sized enterprises, the Ministry of Trade, and also some business supporting institutions in the government. We had an award from the Caribbean companies, and thanks to that award, we could establish a business plan and some help for new machinery, for new production that we will start producing and launching in a few months' time. So we grew little by little, and we also got to the market. We really need to be very well organized. And so far in our country, we don't have a vast consumption of honey because it is highly adulterated. So we are also educating the consumer for them to understand the difference between a bad quality honey and a high quality honey, so that we get the trust of the consumer community. And this is something that we are working hard on. And we have implemented the improvements. This is a everyday activity. We got some grants through an NGO. We had a homogenizer tank. So from crystal, we needed to turn it into liquid because some people do not like crystallized honey, which is the natural status of honey. So we need this particular tank that has this process by which it liquefies. And that machine was also acquired by this group of companies. And we are now already in full production with this new piece of machinery. And also, we wanted to get out to children and tell them how to recognize natural honey. We also went to the small shops in the communities, to the drug shops too, so that people got to know what the true milk looked like. That was very important. And thanks to this machine coming to the new, to the Dominican Republic, we are sending the first product line out of this new machinery next month. And as we all know, honey is a natural food which is extremely good for the human being, for the immune system. And this is something that we need to continue working with people in their consumption of honey. With a honey spoon every day, it is good to have an energy for the whole of the day, and the body keeps in shape. And we also have here in Monte Cristi, my province, we have a lot, quite an interesting variety of honeys. We have like 8 varieties, but we have more than 80 possibilities. But we have something special in this area. But we have this extraction from a tree carbon, and it is ready in less than a month because of the high level of sugar content and the sugar concentration. We are in a dry forest area. This is a very rich honey with a high level of concentration, which is much higher than the concentration on other type of honeys. We also have honey from the area of the mangroves. It's a very exotic honey, which is produced just once a year. We have the so-called Campeche honey, Cantapana honey, cactus honey, and we also call another one Santa Maria honey. These are different concentrations, different tastes, different textures, and throughout these months up until June, we are developing this. But from June, we have honey from different types of flowers. There are forests with 1,000 varieties of flowers, and we get this honey from this mixture of flowers. So our future is that we can develop this botanic identification of different honeys with a right process of certification, and in order to that, a value added to our activity. And we know that there are areas that give the honey different properties, different opportunities than other areas. So if we can really reach out to all these different qualities of honey, we can grow. And the only way for the small producers to really keep up their activity is to help them identify the kind of honey they can produce, give them the added value, so for them to be sustainable, because I can tell you it is not easy. Beekeeping is an extremely difficult activity. We have no support. It is extremely difficult to get the support from the state. Sometimes we need foreign aid because we don't have any legislation in our country that as in other countries in which the farmer gets some kind of government support. Now we have to invest, and there is a lot of risks involved with different also people coming and steal our production, diseases from our bees, any kind of risks that are present in any kind of activity. And people should understand that if we understand the beekeeping activity, we are helping and fostering biodiversity. And many people do not understand the importance of beekeeping. So we have to show how important this is. We have to invest, and we need to really make this a business and have some kind of a sustained support, as it is the case in other kind of products. We are very small producers, and we really are in need of a lot of growth. So if you have any question, I know I talk too much, but please.
Thank you very much, Noella, for the keeping with the time as well. Actually, we have 6 minutes in advance on the time. Very interesting as well. We try to, in these sessions, to talk about all value chains. All are important, and certainly the honey one is critical also for environment and for health and food. I mean, as Noella has explained. So very nice presentations. I see already many kind of questions and appreciations coming on. Yes, you will receive, for those who have just joined, you will receive all the presentations and recording of this session as well. So without major delay, and to give more time for exchanges, I will now pass the floor for the next session to moderate by my IICA colleague, Dr. Maxine PARRIS-AARON, who is an agriculture health specialist, and you would have seen that there were already questions about the standards, the food safety, the safety of food, as also mentioned by Noella, and the certification, all these area, which is critical, of course, for any entrepreneur. So Maxine is based in Guyana for IICA. She has been instrumental in the creation and operationalization of the Women Agro-Processors Network in Guyana. She has really expanded it. She still facilitates the activities of the network, from sales, marketing, distribution, capacity building. And in that context, she's also a recipient of a national award for her work in food safety work with a network of women agro-processors in Guyana, and also contribution to sports in Guyana, because of course you have also to look at this health part. This next panel will be, as I was mentioning at the beginning, on the ecosystem supporting the entrepreneurs. And I take the opportunity to thank, of course, all my IICA colleagues, because the IICA is the co-convener, co-organizer and partner in these sessions, where we welcome many of others supporting entrepreneurs. I've seen many references to Caribbean Export, or now in the chat to the CARICOM regional organizations of standards and quality, and we work with all of them. Nobody is big enough to support entrepreneurs. So we are in this spirit. So thank you very much. I see in the list many IICA colleagues as well as participants following and supporting. I know that Alistair, my colleague Alistair, will give you some words at the end, brings a lot of input from the various offices of IICA across the region. So without major delay, Dr. Maxine, thank you very much. And I give you the floor for the next session. You are muted.
A pleasant good day to everyone. And again, thank you guys for joining. We have had such an interesting time already with our 4 presenters. We have noticed that despite challenges, in fact, one business was born out of a major challenge that we all suffered. And so we noticed that despite challenges, despite things that were negatively, that were negative, that were said to them, etc., they rose above this to be champions. I will say entrepreneurial champions. And I congratulate them and encourage them to continue shining the light in the darkness for the rest of us to follow. And I know that there are many such entrepreneurs out there who are just waiting their turn to share with us. But we know that behind these women, wherever they are working, there are several organizations that help. The help may not be always on time, or they may not be in the magnitude that we hope, but there is assistance, and there continues to be a growing number of opportunities to gain those assistance. And one such organization is the UN. And at this time, we have a representative, Miss Tonni. I'm sorry, there's something keep flashing across my screen. The Miss Tonni BRODBER, and she is a representative of the UN Women in Multi-Country Office. And at this time, I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit about herself and then do her presentation. Miss BRODBER, could you take the microphone, please?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Tonni BRODBER. Thank you so much, Dr. Aaron, for introducing me. I'm the representative for the UN Women Multi-Country Office. We are based in Barbados, but we have staff and personnel across at least 6 other Caribbean countries right now. We work as any agency within the UN system and the UN ecosystem within the realm of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. And my presentation today shows you basically what our work has been, particularly to support women entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs across our region. Our acronym is UN Women, but our title is the UN Entity for Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. And often people feel, so does that mean that you don't work with men? Yes, we do. We work with men and boys. And of course, our focus is working with those who have been most marginalized by our communities as a result of a socio-historical reality. And that one has been described by many of the women entrepreneurs. I think every single woman entrepreneur who spoke earlier spoke to some of these issues. So I'm going to pull up my presentation now and jump right in. As I indicated, we are the multi-country office for the Caribbean. We work towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, today, the goals we're speaking to not only address gender equality, but also decent work and economic growth, as well as the work on life on land and life below water and climate action. This is important because these Sustainable Development Goals are interrelated and interconnected. I indicated earlier where our staff are. We were a very small team, and we still are a small team when you think about what it is we are trying to do. And what we're trying to do is support empowerment for all people across the Caribbean. And we prioritize those groups that have been most marginalized because they didn't have access to resources, legislatively or policy-wise. There's still many banks that ask women, which man in your family will be able to co-sign for you? That is not legislatively in line with where our countries are, but it is still some policies that are implemented at the individual level. We want to support and work to ensure that people have agency and decision-making. And one of the women entrepreneurs spoke to the fact that sometimes many women stay in relationships because they believe they should be there because the agency and decision-making is not something that they themselves can do. We work to support, strengthen skill sets, dignity, so that people understand their own worth and what it is they can do. And there's something that is a thread throughout all of the women who spoke earlier today. And that is many of them did not start their businesses just because of the desire. They started it also because something catapulted them into having to do it. And if we had enough social protection in our spaces, more people would be willing to take the risk to start a business and not only start businesses when they have no other choice. And of course, empowerment relies on access to justice. So we work on all of these areas. But first, our work is informed by data. Who are the people that we want to work with? Who are the women entrepreneurs? Right now, we know that across the Caribbean, only 8% of those who identify as self-employed are entrepreneurs. What is critical is that of that 8%, 1% has employees. And of that 1%, another 1% has more than 5 employees. Only 9% has 1 to 4 employees. So what this means is that many of our women-owned businesses are not resilient because if something happens to that owner, the business is no longer viable. We also do research to see, and this research is informed by our colleagues at the Caribbean Development Bank, at IDB, at World Bank as well. Where are the businesses? In the Caribbean, a lot of people say, women have arrived, gender equality has been achieved. Don't you see how many women are doing well? Yes, we have made significant gains. And yet, these gains are not reflected in who owns the businesses in our countries. As you can see from this slide, many women entrepreneurs are not really in the majority in their countries. In Trinidad and Tobago and Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda, you can see that most of the businesses are owned by all men. So what we do, we support the knowledge, the data, and we also support knowledge that goes directly to women entrepreneurs in the agribusiness sector. How-to guides for women farmers so that they're able to better understand land and small business registration, how they can find one another, how could they understand the importance of the link between women's empowerment and the work that they do. We also are working to support help desks in countries so that women entrepreneurs will be able to get that support that they need, not only from extension officers, but also online. We've also supported with the provision of equipment like personal computers, tablets, and this particular help desk will be available through apps. We support with the skill set. Through a project supported by the government of Japan called the Human Security Trust Fund, we work with FAO as well as ILO and UNDP on a UN Women-led project so that women can learn from other women. It's fantastic to see the beekeeping happening in the Dominican Republic. We also have it happening in Barbados and wonderful agribusiness sector businesses coming up in St. Lucia and in Dominica. So that collaboration and networking, one of your colleagues spoke to the fact that sometimes women work together and sometimes they don't. We want to do as much as we can so that we work together collaboratively to uplift the work that is being done. Also, agency and decision making. If you don't have the information, you don't know how to make sure that you're at the table. We've supported that collaboration one step further by promoting cooperatives where they make sense. It doesn't make sense for many people to be selling the same things next to one another. How can you work collaboratively? That's my colleague, Angela Davis, who is the coordinator of the Human Security Trust Fund project, working to support the Central Farmers Group in Dominica, who we helped with establishing and strengthening themselves so that not only can they get their training skills enhanced, but they can better understand how to negotiate and how to negotiate collaboratively. We also do a lot of work on dignity. Now, this issue is extremely important and perhaps maybe why many of our people run from the agricultural sector, because of our socioeconomic history and our sociocultural history of indentureship and slavery. But agriculture is what we need to survive. It is a dignified space to work, and getting dirty never hurt anyone. The soil is where we should be. And so after our hurricanes, when we are at our lowest, my colleague Isua Iyahen went straight to Dominica to work with the women entrepreneurs that we were working with there to make sure that they had seedlings, that they had equipment that they needed to better be able to build back, not just better, but build back equal or bounce forward, as the Prime Minister of Aruba speaks to, from that hazard. We've also worked with the government of Jamaica and governments across the Caribbean to ensure access to resources. The skill set is great, the dignity is great, but if you don't have the resources, where can you go from here? So we have given funding to ensure that women entrepreneurs have the funding that they need, grant funding that they need, to be able to get that leg up, to become more skilled within the business space. Ensuring as well that businesses themselves, the businesses that may be procuring from these women entrepreneurs, are doing so in a gender responsive way. We use our women's empowerment principles to ensure that companies look at gender gap analyses within their procurement value chain, within their own businesses, to think through how can I be a more enabling space for women to work and for women business owners to be able to engage with. Access to resources, innovative financing, the private sector. Are the loans that are available accessible to women business owners in the agribusiness sector? What are your needs, and do the financial institutions understand them? That's what we try to do, bridge that gap so that they can better understand your needs and you can understand what their requirements are and meet somewhere in the middle so that you can get more access to the resources that you need to grow your businesses, to get that export out there. And we bring all of these things together: the dignity, the skill set, the access to resources through coaching, making sure that we use ICT in times of crises so women can better understand how to use fintech, financial technology, especially financial technology, for the access to finance to really scale their businesses. In Dominica, during the COVID-19 crisis, we recognized that many women did not have access to their markets anymore. So they used an online platform started by a woman, Agrivertise, so that they can do that. The Yemania Bootcamp, and I saved this last because I saw a very familiar face, Shondel Abby Alexander, who was here. We have boot camps to support the networking, the leadership, and the empowerment. So we can learn from one another, we can grow, and we can ensure that you get the financing that you need and you're prepared for the financing you need. So Shondel gave us a pitch and all of us got a chance to taste some of her wonderful products as well. So one of the things I just want to say is what came out from many of our women entrepreneurs is the intersectional challenges they face. Whether it's someone telling you what to do with your hair, which is more race and ethnic based, or whether someone is approaching you inappropriately, which is sex based, or even our beliefs that, can I do this? Is this what a woman should do? Which is gender based in terms of the roles that we expect for ourselves in society. And as UN Women MCO Caribbean, we try to work across all of these areas to provide the services that women farmers need. I've taken, and not just farmers, women in the agribusiness sector, women entrepreneurs in agribusiness and across all sectors need. I've taken note of many of these women who've presented and want to make sure they're engaged in our network, because we too ensure that our procurement comes from women business owners and other marginalized groups. That's it from me. I think I was within my 10 minutes allotment. You're muted, Dr. Aaron.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just having some really terrible problems with this computer this morning, all of a sudden, because we tested it this morning and all was well. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation, and it was very enlightening for me as well. I've learned a lot more about what you guys do, and I am quite sure that in the audience, persons would have been more enlightened about your operations and how they can receive assistance. And also there are some questions in the chat, and most of them have been answered. There is one to you, it's in French, and I've been trying to get it translated. So I hope I can, during the next presenter, I can look at it and get it translated. But there are other questions there that have been answered, so we can take a look at the chat, and I'll let you know if there are other questions that come up. But thanks again, Ms. BRODBER. It has been, your presentation was very, very enlightening and very, very informative. We go on next to another organization that has been providing support and assistance, guidance for the agro-processors in the Caribbean, and it's the Caribbean Network of Rural Women Producers, CANROP. Miss Carmen Nurse, who has been its president, and who has been very, very instrumental in also empowering women. I proudly introduce her as a Guyanese. She is one of my countrywomen, and I'm so proud of her and her continued efforts. Miss Nurse, I'll hand the stage to you so that you can introduce yourself and then tell us all about the work that you've been doing in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parris. And also IICA and COLEAD for this opportunity to share on the Caribbean Network of Rural Women Producers. The name speaks for itself. It's about rural women coming together into agro-processing. The next slide. Yes, so CANROP consists of presently 10 active chapters. These 10 active chapters, they were formed, the network was formed in 1999, and it was launched to create a single entity of already existing associations of women producers, rural women producers. So our focus is using what we produce, rural women. The 10 chapters are listed there. Next. All right, what is our mission? Our mission is to promote and support the efforts of the national chapters, train and inform chapter members to achieve sustainable small and micro enterprise development and rural prosperity by regional networking of traditional knowledge. And I want to emphasize the last part, regional networking of traditional knowledge. So we are keeping the culture, we are using the culture to be innovative, and also to use innovation to create businesses. Next. Our vision, CANROP vision is to be a rural women transparent institution that is unified, viable, and sustainable contributors to the development of the Caribbean agriculture sector, to be competitive and sustainable, capable of generating incomes, to promote and support food and nutrition security, reduce poverty, and improve rural livelihoods of the Caribbean. So basically, that's our vision. How do we go about it? At the Caribbean network level, we focus on the different chapters, but each chapter has the same focus and the same vision. But for today's presentation, I would highlight some of what is happening in the chapters as it relates to businesses. I will also make it known that even though our organization is registered, our national chapters are registered, we also have members of the chapters who are registered, who are now doing their own business. And that's the level of empowerment, that's the level in terms of in which we want to reduce poverty, and the level in which we are telling rural women that you don't have to remain as farmers and just sell your product from your roof. We move from the ground and we have them now value added into processing. So the remaining few minutes, I will highlight what's happening in some of our chapters. So let me start with the far end. We'll start with the chapter Bahamas. Bahamas, like all other chapters, the focus is on farming, agro-processing, and craft. But Bahamas has a high level of craft work using, as the first presenter, Jeanette presented, all the seeds, making earring from sand, anything that you can wood, they utilize it in terms of jewelry. And as I said, the agro-processing. Within there, our vice president for CANROP, which is Mata, she is actually supplying agro-processing products to 8 supermarkets, 8 places. There are other members who are supplying. So we have grown in that level, in that members are not just working together for the network, but they are now empowering themselves by having registered businesses. And so they are using it as a family business and also employing persons outside of the business. So we are looking there as growth and development. Let's continue. Good. So we go on to Jamaica, and I'm pleased to highlight our young farmer from Jamaica. This farmer, Citrina Atkins, she was an honoree and awardee at the national level for her role in agriculture. Acres of farm she would undergo using technology to encourage others. And so we are looking at for rural women, most of them are of the upper age, but now we are looking at succession. And so we are trying our best to incorporate the youth into the network so that they can advance farming to the next level. Agro-processing remains the same. This other young lady, she is showcasing some of her products that is done. Generally, you will find that the network, they focus on roots, they focus on fruits in terms of agro-processing, they focus on our vegetables, innovative ways of so doing and getting the product from the farm to the table so that we are looking at the food and nutrition security of the family, and from the farm, supplying others so that they can eat what they produce, what is being produced in country. At CANROP level, we are helping in terms of, generally, we are helping in terms of marketing skills. We are helping in terms of how they can get from farm to market. And so as I go along, I will highlight some more of what we do. Next. We have CANROP. CANROP recently received a training program in terms of how they can use what they produce, what is on the farm, to add value so as to increase price. So these are some of their products here, as seen in the slide. Next. This is St. Lucia, where I reside, and I want to focus a little bit. Sometimes there's a scripture that says, can anything good come out of a place or a person? And here I want to highlight one of the products that's really now going is chocolate, cocoa, our local cocoa beans. Because of an alliance with a company, a group from Trinidad, we were exposed to the production of how to make dark chocolate bars. And in the display, you will see that we have produced now 60, 70, and 80% dark chocolate. Out of that, we have gone beyond and now add flavors. We have the mocha flavor, which is the coffee flavor, and spices, our natural spices. But beyond that, when it looked as though it was impossible to make our hot chocolate mix. So we also have gone now, instead of the Nestle, we have our local hot chocolate mix and our cocoa cubes. It is saying to us in the Caribbean that we have the resources in terms of the in terms of the person and the material resources. It's just for us to network. It's just for us to share. It's just for us to get the right resource persons and to make production possible. Production of what was seemingly impossible, that is something that was foreign, but is now being produced at that level locally. We also have here highlighted some of our local soaps, because we have 4 clusters, some of our local soaps and local mix, the rub, keeping it Creole. So we have some of those products. We have a chapter that is focused on the composite flour, so that we are using our dashin, our yam, or macambo, or plantain. You can have access to all those local flours. Next. All right, St. Vincent. Again, St. Vincent here. We are showing our pepper sauce, our wine, our sea salt. And amazing, there's a story from the sea salt in St. Vincent where they say there's an area where the pond, when the water dries out from that pond, they get access to sea salt. A person will just go, it's just ready for packaging. Just ready for packaging. Also from St. Vincent, you see this Raku wine. There is also what we, I think the English name for it is annatto, traditional food coloring that is overlooked, but it's right on our farm and we allow it to go to waste. So here, the Caribbean network is really using what is indigenous, what is overlooked, what is very nutritious, and turning it into valuable products and more so health products, and also saving foreign currency by using what we have. Next. All right. Dr. Maxine spoke about this, Guyana, food basket. Guyana has 9 active chapters. And here I'm going to focus a little bit on IICA. IICA has been instrumental. They're actually the backbone behind most of the national chapters, and at CANROP level they function. They are the supporters, they give technical advice. But specifically to Guyana, Dr. Maxine has been very instrumental in making it possible for the rural women. They are far, they're not walking distance. Some of them is flying distance. If you hear the airfare, it's impossible to get the product from the rural area to Georgetown. But with the assistance of IICA, and I visited there last year, IICA has allocated a place for sale. It's one thing to produce, but it's another thing to have a market. IICA has made it possible, Guyana, to Dr. Maxine, to get the products the members from the 9 different areas will send it out through boats, and they have a contact, IICA, and through the network, they are paying an administrator to have it in an office, in IICA's office, IICA's building, in fact, so that persons can get those products in Georgetown. In addition, they can also be seen at the Guyana Marketing Board. Guyana Marketing is a very Guyana Marketing shop, and you can see the wide variety of products. But I want to highlight one product that was really amazing to me. Usually, we have seen the virgin coconut oil. We have seen and that's a big demand now. But there is one member. Instead of bursting the dry coconut and throw them away, she's now using it to create CASRIP food coloring. It is traditionally known that CASRIP is made from cassava, but we now have coconut CASRIP, just to mention one item. But we have a wide variety, like all the other chapters, but you can get the product from the interior into town. And that is the support, and as a network system, we need the linkages that we need to get that kind of support from other groups. Next. All right, CANROP is Suriname. This Suriname chapter here, again, you can see they are focused on craft, but what I want to highlight is the cereal. They are using cassava to make cereal for the babies. My problem with agriculture is that we start a thing, we highlight a product, and we forget about it after a short time. We were trying to save on the importation of wheat flour, and there was a promotion of the use of cassava, but it start and stop, die quickly. We need continuity in what we are doing, because by now, most of the Caribbean should have been using the composite flour. Like Guyana, you can get the dasheen. I went there, I saw 4 mixed flour, 4 vegetable in terms of staple flour, 4 of them mixed together to create a staple. And so we need now, as a group, even the CANROP, to push the use of our local ingredients, our local food, but not just to sell it as dasheen and yam and sweet potato alone, but to add that value to the product, that it cannot just stay, it will not just stay in one country, but it also will be a product that we can get any place in the world. So our focus right now is to create a CANROP market. We're in Guyana, you can find CANROP products from all the 10 chapters and those we plan to add. A slide is not here, but I also want to highlight Grenada. Grenada is one of the most prolific chapter in CANROP. Grenada is supplying at least 4 hotels on a regular basis with all the local produce. The demand is so high that they are not just, it's no longer just men, they had to, women, they had to include a few men to meet the market demands and also to measure up with some of the quantities that they need. So Grenada is doing extremely well. They were recently, actually, through the AgroCom project, they were able to source a vehicle for the transportation, how it's so much in demand. They got 80% from that project, and they were able to go to the bank and get 20% because they're in business and they are working together as a group, and it's working very well for them. Marketing is a daily process for Grenada. Grenada is supplying every hotel you can think about. They are going to schools, they are supplying schools, so they are meeting the local demands in schools, and they are also meeting persons in the university. Wherever you are, contact them, and they're doing so. Not just Grenada, but I remember seeing online one of the UN program where some of our members, they are actually in the school feeding program. So CANROP is doing much. In Barbados, we have one particular woman. She is using, she is using breadfruit to make pasta. Breadfruit pasta. Yes, you don't, because with so many persons who are now allergic to wheat, we have breadfruit pasta. Coming out of Trinidad, we know Trinidad is known for mango. They have that lockdown from craft to food in the raw state to soaps and everything, they have it. So at the Caribbean level, we are where we are because of linkages. One person could not have done what to bring us where we are, but many persons. And it's very important that we network. Last year, August, we were exposed to a UNDP program where we did a training on empowering our farmers and their organization through social capital. And that has really opened an eye for all of us, because it's a train the trainer program where we see the importance of actually bridging the gap and linking with international organizations so that our needs, what we cannot do for ourselves, we can source it through linkages. IICA is one of our partners doing an excellent job, I repeat with them. We have the UNDP, we have UN, and our ministries of agriculture. They are linking with the network at the national level, and we are working together with the other partners at CANROP level and at the national level to make our organization a continuous success. We are registered. We are an organization, respectful, innovative, and we make sure that everything we do is environmental friendly. However, we are not where we want as yet, but through continuous networking, we will get where we want to be. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nurse. And I think that we appreciate all the efforts of CANROP. And let me point out one of the major messages that you would have left with us is the need for linkages and partnerships to be formed so that we can continue to strengthen each other. And I think that came out from the panel, the first panel, where when the young ladies spoke, I think it was our second speaker, yes, is Miss ELLIOT, who spoke basically about believing in yourself and also networking with others. I think all of them actually mentioned the need for us to link hands across wherever we are, share information, and to work with each other. There's some questions in the chat, which we will address during the question and answer, but we'll take the final speaker this morning, Ms. Priscila Villalobos, one of our counterparts in IICA, a strategic coordination and gender and youth unit in IICA. Priscila, please go ahead and introduce yourself and your work and share with us all the interesting work that has been going on in support of women across the Caribbean and elsewhere. Thank you.
Very good morning, and thank you very much to all the sisters here and all the presenters that have presented their experiences before. My name is Priscila Zuniga. I am responsible for the Gender Equity and Youth Program, the manager in IICA, and we work in IICA with 7 technical cooperation programs. And with this administration, the ministers, both men and women of agriculture of the Americas, asked the IICA to create 2 cooperation programs. gender
work
and youth
on
program.
women and youth and digitalization. That's a cross-cutting
we are located in San Jose, Costa Rica, and we work in the hemisphere. So we work together hand in hand with all our representatives in the different countries.
With our friends in the Caribbean,
and
the colleagues in the Caribbean.
Thank to Alistair, who's the brother who has
I thank particularly
invited
Alistair,
us
that
to
was the one
share
that
what we
invited
do.
us to share our experiences.
1 second. I'm sorry, Priscilla. There is an echo. We're getting English from you and English from the interpreter. At least I am. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. So I'm not sure. Isolina? Okay. So you're
maybe
just,
there's a problem there.
It's not an echo. It's that the two translators are translating at the same time. So we just need one translator to translate.
Yeah.
Okay. We are trying to fix this. I'm sorry, we're trying to fix this right now. Yes. Okay, it's fixed now. It's fixed now. Sorry for this. Sorry. We can go on. I will continue in Spanish. Let me start saying that our most important approach is to work with women and the rural youth in the Americas. And I would like to say that what do we understand by rural women and the rights that have been identified at this hemispheric level and the recommendations for the women to continue being part of the businesses world in the agro-industry. So also, as many other colleagues before me, women continue having open spaces through the different technical cooperation tools existing and that women have access to them. When we talk about women and what do we mean by rural women, the starting point of this term is that there is no one single type of rural woman, because it depends on the social organization she belongs, the different conditions and ways of life, the different agricultural activities in which they are engaged, the non-agricultural activities that is also being positioned, which is the care economy, which I will refer to later, and also to understand the diversity and the different intersectionalities amongst the rural women. When we talk about the intersectionalities, what are we referring to? As I said before, from IICA, our starting point is that not all women are equal, so that when we carry out technical intervention in the technical cooperation, we must understand the different age situation of women. It's not the same thing to have technical cooperation with younger women than women over 40 or 50 years old. What is the socio-economic situation, the ethnicity? We know that we have different ethnicities in the Americas and the Caribbean, the different nationalities, the educational level they have achieved, the marital status, whether this rural woman has a certain level of disability or not, whether we can create the conditions so that they can all be included. So this is something that we need to understand whenever we approach the rural women aspect. Something else besides what I've already said was, which when we talk about rural women, what are the roles of rural women in the Latin American and the Caribbean agri-food systems, and what type of agricultural agri-food systems, all type of activities linked to production, transformation, trade, consumption, and of course, the disposal of food. This includes agriculture, industrial, and service activities that complement and depend on each other. It is important to understand that rural women are present in all different stages, sectors, and activities of agri-food systems, from seed protection, plant cultivation, food production, the management of animals, the trade. We are also, which is also very much interested in today's session, women that are also leading companies, that are CEOs of companies, owners of companies, and this helps us understand what is the role that we have within the food security chain. And as I said, our Anastasha sister said before, is that women by ourselves, we are having a lot of obstacles in front of us, just structural obstacles that from the pandemic regarding wage and salary differences, relationship of the concentration of power in different spaces that are really in the hands of just men, socioeconomic inequalities, the sexual division of labor, the lack of opportunities for participation in the decision-making processes. And after the pandemic, beyond these problems, these gaps, we have identified other gaps. Women have huge difficulties in accessing education, sanitation, land ownership. We saw that our colleague from UN Women who gave us specific data about the Caribbean. Some challenges regarding the formality of the employment, depending on the education level of the women in the rural areas, and that rural women have easier access to informal jobs or employment. Obviously, access limitations to credit and financial resources and loans. So taking these structural hurdles into account, when we try to analyze what is the situation of women in the Latin American and the Caribbean region, we see that rural women here are 58 million rural women, out of which 17 million are economically active, registered, and out of those 17 million, only 4.5 million are considered as agricultural producers. But despite these numbers, when we see the reality, we can realize that women are suffering the worst employment, the worst access to basic services, and they are predominant in the informal economy, the low quality jobs, and of course, the lowest paying jobs. So if we start from the point of view that women producers have the same access to productive and financial resources as rural men have, their crop yields would increase by 20–30%. Women would produce more than men. And if these were produced at the same level as rural men, we would have a reduction in hunger that would be calculated between 12 and 17% hunger reduction. And also, it's a very important question, as we said, when we talk about intersectionality, that in the case of young women, they work more hours in total, more challenges, fewer paid hours, so they often do not have their own income, and they depend on their elderly, they have to support economically their family units, and this includes sometimes means lack of inequalities, violence, and others. Last piece of data that I wanted to comment before we move on to the same slide is that the estimation is that after the pandemic, there were 40 million workers and 22 were workers. But after the pandemic, 38% of the women lost their possibility to work compared to 20% by men. So that means that the pandemic has alarmingly increased the level of inactivity of women and therefore the increase of poverty amongst women. And this could also reach 42% regarding extreme poverty. So almost 6 million people would go into this process of because they do not have enough income to support their basic needs. So what's important to highlight here, what we do from IICA, as you know, we have several levels of action at the hemisphere level and also the regional level in the Caribbean region, and also some action level at national level in each and every country. So at the hemispheric level, the Gender Equity and Youth Program that was set up from last year, as I said before, we used to work as a cross-cutting department. Now this is technical cooperation, and we have structured our work according to different aspects. We have the mandate to work with the Forum of Ministers, Vice Ministers, and high-level authorities that unfortunately, in the region, we don't have many women ministers or many women in general in the decision-making processes. We only have 4 women at the head of agriculture ministers, but they are fortunately very active women, very devoted, very committed to our agenda, to placing these aspects of supporting rural women in the agenda. So at this forum of women ministers, vice ministers, and high authorities, we have several actions. The reduction of gaps and intersectional inequalities in the different countries. It is important for IICA that the women and rural youth increase their participation in the different decision-making areas, particularly where the big decisions are made. We also try to have actions that are strategic, that have a vision, that they are actions that really respond to each of the needs. As Carmen previously said, that IICA has been key in the Caribbean to support training materials for all of them. We also support their different regional agendas, something which is under discussion in the Americas, to generate conditions regarding the care world, because studies carried out last year have shown that rural women work even 3 times more than urban women in the care sector, taking care of children, elderly, and everybody under their responsibility. So it is very important that we join efforts in regarding these regional agendas and support, of course, the drafting of new public policies, and of course, the necessary technical contributions with it, our Inter-American Institute of Agriculture Cooperation, with a transformative purpose, equity and equality, with an intersectionality, inclusion, and diversity. And finally, I would like to insist on how can we promote from all the teachings that we learned, actions that we can use for rural women to participate in different business. And this is very important so that we can really get together, that we can question one another, that we share what we do, that we don't have access to loans, that as women, we have difficulties to have access to training programs. So if we continue generating conditions without the necessary guarantees for women to have access under the same conditions as men to that kind of training and loans, in those cases, we really need to understand whether these men are ready to take their share in the care needs. So to generate conditions in the care sector is not something that has to be done from up, from the top of the public institutions, but also from the private area. We belong to organizations. We need to ask ourselves, how do we do so that women belonging to our organizations can also start trading, can go attend businesses, meetings, if they have to take care of their children, who's going to collect children after school. These are important, concrete, real conditions that we need to take into account if we want to foster rural women participation. We are an organization that cannot just stop at technical cooperation. We need to work on these intersectionalities among the different government state members. Something which is extremely important to see is to understand, well, and this is about training with the following proposals, which is strengthening capacities, access to market, understanding their characteristics of the markets, how to draw a business plan, what is the market behavior, whether do I need to have more added value to my product in order to differentiate my product from other products already present in that particular market. What if I want to start exporting? Do I need to increase my volume? What are the health and phytosanitary conditions demanded, required for exports? These are elements that we need to analyze once women decide to opt for the adventure of being business women, owners of businesses. And this is where we really need to understand the economic aspects of all this. What are the market dynamics? How do I get to markets with more volumes? But it is also important, different social aspects. What are the allies, the partners that allow me to give me power to empower myself and my business? It is not the same thing. And this is, we're talking about the different roles of men and women. It is not the same thing as women just sit while men are negotiating at the business tables. How can we create conditions so that we women can go to be present at those meetings around tables where the decisions are made? So we really need to move towards more economic autonomy of women. This is why we also support this generation of a whole new generation of public policies that include all these elements. And some key issue is to partnership work, to have the best practices, exchange of knowledge of best practices, because thanks to this, we can generate more volume. Thanks to this partnership and cooperation, we can have more weight, more presence. And with all these recommendations at the level of this hemisphere, we can see two virtual platforms to which women can have access to information. One that you can find on the left-hand side, which is oriented, focused more to rural women in general for decision-making for change. And the second platform on the right-hand side is more for rural youth, the young women in the rural areas, how they can really show in a very completely free their activities of the business activities. We also have some possibility for new ideas to be developed, and our strategic partners that work with IICA can also have a look at their new ideas, and if they are interested, help in the development of this. And something that I would like to highlight right now, and this is what we are doing with our colleagues in the Caribbean, is that they have a virtual trade mission every year, which aim is to support companies access markets. I think I ran over my time. I just wanted to finish with a sentence in which I wanted to say that this is in part of one of our books, which is Luchadoras Fighters, Improving the Economy with Equal Opportunities ensures a better distribution of wealth and the consequent closing of gaps that threaten food and nutritional security and threaten to increase poverty and all expressions of inequality. This is from the IICA book called in Spanish Luchadoras, in English translation, Fighters. Thank you all very, very much for listening And that's our contact, just in case you want to continue working together with us, and particularly with our offices here present in the region. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks.
Priscila, Priscila, thank you so very much. There's so many points that you would have raised that I think give us food for thought as we work with in the different countries where we are as developmental organizations, and even as local organizations seeking to assist our women. The whole issue of women and opportunities for women, and how do we ensure that those opportunities can be grasped by putting effective support services in place, by ensuring that we build into our capacity when we're doing our capacity building for the women, that we give them enough information and guidance that enables them to navigate the difficulties. Because although there's some things that have changed, we recognize that there is a lot that still has not changed to allow women to be more effective. However, we have heard today from some champions, and we know that all, in spite of their challenges, they have managed to rise above, and there are things that they said today that we can draw from. We want to give them the opportunity to take 2 minutes each and just make any final points that they want, that, you know, they would like us to know that they may have missed out on, or they may have thought about while the organizations were talking, were doing their presenting. So we'll start with Jeanette, and then we'll go to Anastasha, then Shondel, and then Noella, in that order. If you can go ahead and take 2 minutes each and just tell us anything else that you think we need to know at this point. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I just want to stress on that it's important for us to work together, especially as women. I know that based on what was said today, based on all the different presenters, we talk about it, so it's always being talked about, and it's always a conversation. But the fact that in 2023, the conversation still continues, and you still have people looking at you and telling you, oh, why you have to wear your hair like that, and things that I think we need to continue that conversation, and not just in forums like this, but continue the conversation where men themselves should know that you cannot just look at a woman and say, oh, I don't like the way you wear your hair. How I wear my hair is my business. That has nothing to do with you, but you don't need to voice that. And I think it's a matter of educating people, because in the long run, at the end of the day, we have a job to do, whether it's be working for yourself, whether it's be working for someone else, because we have to take care of our family, we have to take care of ourselves. But the obstacles that are put in our way to do that, I think it needs to be break down those barriers. We talk about it too much, and there are still too many barriers, especially for Caribbean female entrepreneurs. That's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. Anastasha?
I've been listening to everyone talk, well, in and out, because I'm actually in production at the moment, so I'm back and forth.
Anastasha, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's a little echo, sorry, I'm not sure. Go ahead, let's see how it goes.
Okay, is it better now? Hello?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, all right. So I've been listening to the other presenters speak, and there's some clear issues that keep coming up. And I've been dealing with those issues been in business for what, 10 years, 13 years, something like that, since 2010. And sometimes it could be disheartening to see that we're having the same conversations over and over again about the same issues, almost as if nothing is changing. But at the same time, I can see that we are coming up with different ways that we can navigate around some of these problems that we're having. I know in my space, I've created quite a few, and I do share them with other women. I work quite closely with a lot of the producers here. We have a bartering system where we can network amongst ourselves to get certain things that we need without having to come up with money at this right away, if at all. Because I may have something that another producer needs, and she may have something I want, and we can barter that way. And so little things like that, I think, are quite important for us, to not just depend on policy level for change, but even amongst our networks, that we can create change that way as well. And so it's quite heartening to see some of the conversation that is happening and the different ways that we are coming up to deal with the issues and the programs that are being put in place to support women in entrepreneurship within the region. So that's my little bit for today.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. Let me ask Shondel. Shondel, is there anything at this point that you want to share with us?
Yes. First, I would like to thank IICA for having me on board. I have been in business for quite some time now, and most times I'm not heard because I don't like public speaking. I don't like taking a platform. And I think that's where I'm lacking. And I think I sell myself short sometimes. So I'm going to take this opportunity to move to the next level and be able to speak when the time comes for me to do so. I just want to say there are probably women in here who don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. I finished school, or rather, unfortunately, I got pregnant when I was 16 years old, gave birth when I was 17, which put me in a lack of education situation. And here I am today, a 7-time award winner, a business which is currently has become a household name in St. Lucia. So for those people in here who probably is in a situation now and you feel like you can't go on, you can do it. As long as you make up your mind to do it, you don't need anybody to tell you that you can do it. You just need to have that mindset and put your best foot forward, and you can do it. Because 10 years ago, I didn't know that today I would have been here. You would go to places and, state your case, say where you are and where you want to be, or this is my situation now. And they look at you like, if you're so well dressed, why are you talking as if you're in need? But I think people in high positions now do not understand that we're on a different playing field where, for me, I dress to state what I want to be. I don't dress to state where I am currently. So if you want to be the next prime minister, you're going to have to dress to and behave like the next prime minister in order to become the next prime minister. So when somebody comes up to you at a bank and say, my doors are about to close, we just came out of COVID and whatever, and you're looking at me because I'm properly presented, it doesn't mean that I am doing well. So, guys, put your best foot forward, go out there, do what you have to do, and you don't have to look the way you feel. If you wake up and you're feeling down, get up, make up yourself and look your best. That's the day you should look your best. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Shondel. Can we hear from Noella now, please?
Bueno.
In my case, I think it is important to work together with other women. It is important also to call the attention of the authorities, the government, explain what our issues are. The problem seems to be that Noella is listening to herself. So there's an echo, apparently. And she's wondering whether anything can be done. So what I was saying is that we have to support ourselves. We have to cooperate amongst ourselves to grow and also make our voices heard vis-a-vis the government, because it is important that the government should know what our difficulties are. As many of the speakers said, they see us and they see how we're dressed and the products that we sell, and they believe that things are going well for us and we don't need any help. But they do not really know whether our products are being sold the way they should be sold. They would be the way they should be sold. So they don't know what our potential is. Of course, our products are not mass consumption products. The products that we sell are original, innovative. We need help to promote and market our products adequately to be able to export them. And it is important to get support for our activities and to be able to grow. When the banks, for example, see that our sales are not sufficient, they don't give us credit. So they don't see the difficulties we have. In order to grow, we need help, we need support. And I think banks and credit institutions should be aware of the situations we are in. So this, of course, is a limiting factor for the growth of our enterprises, our businesses. Of course, it is important to continue fighting, struggling, support ourselves, as I said, work together, see how we can work in networks, especially when we do not have institutional support. Our governments many times do not understand what our difficulties are. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. I think that all our panelists raised very important points for us, including our own self-awareness, our self-motivation and motivating each other, and a call for all of us out there lending support to be more strategic in the support and be more the support must be more targeted to the needs of our women. I think those pointers came out and a lot more information. I want to say on my own behalf, thank you very much for the opportunity to be in on this important discussion and sharing of information, because I've not only learned a lot, but it has caused me to refocus some of my energies going forward. I want to take this opportunity now to invite Isolina to give you some parting thoughts, and she will be followed by Alistair. I am sorry at this point, I have to disconnect. I have a little emergency at home with my dad, so I have to run. Thank you so much for the assistance, and God bless you all going forward. Continue to be champions and continue to do what is good.
Thank you very much, Maxine. I'm afraid I would have liked to, but we can't, neither Alistair, neither me. The interpreters have to leave. We have 10 minutes late. On our side, it's 6 p.m. More, so my colleagues have to leave as well. This is supported and financed from our side at COLEAD. And yes, all my IT people and interpreters have just to go home. So thank you very much to all, and see you next time, hoping that we have more time to focus on entrepreneurs. It was so nice to meet you, and we will look forward to exchange. This session is closed. Keep well. Bye-bye.